welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States. And also Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, as well as across the pond in London, England, and Paris, France. And, of course, you good old boys from Canada. We appreciate you so much, Canada. But there's no one I love more than the land of the free and the home of the brave on this beautiful February the 7th, 2017. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
Well, I'm still fantasizing about Lady Gaga. Halftime from the Super Bowl, you know. I haven't got that in my mind yet, you know. I woke up in the middle of the night. That's why I was being attacked, you know. I was still seeing her, you know, hanging from the rafters. I thought she got in my house, you know, hanging from the rafters.
Hey, Big Z.
But everything is going wonderful. I mean, it's really down here in the South. I mean, we've had some tumultuous winds. A couple of tornadoes have touched down here in the South.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, our prayers and wishes go out to those people that's been affected. You know, and what's so devastating, it hit down in New Orleans, in an area where Katrina.
Oh, yeah.
That's so much damage. It was a decade ago, Charlton. And so those people just cannot literally get out of the eye of the storm down there. And all our well wishes are with those families and those people that's been affected today, Charlton. But, you know, it's just another day in the world of sports, and there's always some turmoil going on there.
Well, Big C, I just want to tell you, don't feel bad. Everybody wants Lady Gaga, but there was a great actor by the name of Al Pacino, and he played in a movie called Scarface. Now, don't let it scare you, but he told his friend, "She's not for you, man." Okay, when his friend was trying to date his sister. So, and there's also some great musicians by the name of Hall & Oates, and it's called "She's a Man-Eater." Now, she may be a beautiful person, but she does eat men. If they have to open the door, they have to open the roof at the Super Bowl. Now, who has that kind of power outside of POTUS? Lady Gaga has so much power, they opened the window to heaven when she was singing, Big C. So you got a long line to stand behind, Big C. Your thoughts? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hall & Oates told us about Lady Gaga. She is definitely a man-eater. And I do want to say, speaking of man-eater, we also have a money-eater. This segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, I understand it's been raining so much in the South, you probably got that Cadillac wet. You know how you got a dog sometimes and the dog goes out and plays in mud, and the dog's happy in the mud, and then the owner has the nerve to try to spray the dog off, and the dog starts shaking and trying to get away. Is that what she does for you, Big C, when you try to wash her off, Big C? That's funny. That is so funny, Big C. You know, we do love the Escalade. It is the standard of the world, and it's so choice. You know, there's still a little talk about the Super Bowl and what a great game it was. No matter what you think or who you were pulling for, and people are actually blaming the coach that just got the job in San Francisco. Why didn't he run the ball more in the second half? And some people are pointing the finger, you know, at Matty Ice. You know, all he has to say is he got iced up, Big C. They iced him. He iced himself, Big C. Would that be appropriate, Big C? How them good boys talking about it down south, Big C? Yeah.
He was hard out there, he was soft serve coming out. But, you know, everybody is blaming Kyle Shanahan, who is now the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers,
yeah,
for the play calls that were made. Charlton, you got to look at a quarterback when he goes to the line of scrimmage. If there's a running play call, Charlton, you don't have to sit there, and you can always watch the center.
Yeah.
The center is dictating what the play call is coming from the quarterback, whether he's going with the call or whether he's audible. And if you look at those scenarios that were occurring, Alex Mack is the center for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
He was sitting there in the squat position. He was pointing to several different scenarios that were coinciding with the play change that the quarterback was making at that time, Charlton. Not a blocking scheme, but when you're blocking, linemen are antsy.
Yeah.
They get up there, they're snorting and snot dripping out of their nose, sweat dripping off their brow.
And that's before the game starts, from what I understand, Big C.
So they're like hogs rooting in the mud. You know, they like get in the net and ride around.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're ready to go. You don't have to sit there and make several calls on a running play. And we all watch football, Charles.
Yeah.
When it's a running play, that quarterback has that set up and they're gone.
Yeah.
You don't get there and start calling different directional calls. That's what Ryan was doing. He thought he was recognizing something defensively that New England had a lapse in.
Yeah.
They were baiting him is what they did, Charles, and it showed the intelligence of a Bill Belichick. It wasn't a bad call on Shanahan's behalf.
Yeah.
It was more of an intelligent call on Belichick's behalf and an attrition, the defensive coordinator that they had. So it was a cat and mouse game, and the two most experienced and intelligent people came out on top on the New England side of the defense. But don't sit there and say Shanahan made some bad play calls. Shanahan took the bullet because he was leaving Atlanta.
Yeah.
He took the bullet for Ryan, saying that Ryan checked out of the play. That's all he had to say. But it wasn't his place to call down the league's MVP, saying that there was an ineptitude call on his behalf.
Yeah, you know.
As an intelligent, protecting coach, he said, hey, I called the wrong scenario.
Yeah.
He did not. Ryan made the wrong adjustment, Charles.
But Big C, that's a very good point, because I recall even the announcers, the Buck and Aikman, and some of the prognosticators outside of the Super Bowl after the game was done, and there were some guys also broadcasting the game on radio. They were so impressed with the thunderous ability of Julio Jones. He's like when you throw moonshine or gasoline on the fire, you get that big spark, Big C. That's how Julio Jones is, and people are saying, okay. All right, I gotta learn my Southern vernacular, Big C. But people are still asking, even out here on the West Coast where everything goes, why did Julio only have 4 catches in the game? Why didn't they get him some short 5-yard passes? That's what made Jerry Rice successful in the West Coast offense in California. They didn't have Jerry Rice going 40 yards downfield to catch a pass. It was always a 5-yard slant or 10 yards and let him get the yak, Big C. Why did Julio Jones only get 4 catches? He had 9 catches and 180 yards against Green Bay just 2 weeks before, Big C.
Well, this defense was designed to eliminate the portion of the field that he was on, Charles. They were going to allow the other receivers, Gabriel and Sanu, to beat him. All of the tight ends came into play. The first touchdown of the game was by a tight end for Atlanta, okay? That's not the first tight end. Hooper scored the first tight end touchdown of the game.
Yeah.
They were not concerned about those plays because they knew that Ryan had tendencies, that he was going to consistently try to get the ball to Jones, but he could have not. And that's what happened. You get a quarterback in a forcing situation. Well, when you look at the three of those 4 receptions that Jones had to make, those were acrobatic receptions. Those were really tight throws, and they were fingertip catches, dragging toes, Charles, and they weren't easy catches where you're catching the ball and having an opportunity to turn the field and get extra yardage. You were putting the toes down, falling on the ground. That's the type of predicament and the coverage that New England put Jones in all night long.
Yeah.
You know if you got a key weapon, take away one element of it, Charles, and that's the craftiness, and not talking about Robert.
Yeah. Right.
We're talking about the craftiness of the defensive scheme that New England had employed that night. And that's what you have to do. You have to give much credit to the defensive side of the ball. I think all the young broadcasters now are so enamored with offense because they don't understand the complexity of defense. And when you listen to a guy like a Tony Dungy on television, you listen to a Herm Edwards on television, when they're describing the defensive side of the ball, or Rodney Harrison, they talk from a defensive perspective. They don't always talk from an offensive perspective.
Yeah.
And no one wants to give the guys on that side of the ball the credit. But when you have the top scoring defense in the NFL, people forgot. New England went into this game only really got 15.8 points a game defensively, okay?
Yeah.
Now, Atlanta really only earned 2 touchdowns, Charlton, when you think about it. They got 1 touchdown off of a pick 6, okay?
Yeah.
Let's move that out of the equation. That's 21 points, all right?
Yeah.
They got another touchdown off of a immediate touchdown off of a turnover. So we move those 2 out of the equation. That's really 14 points that they drove down the field and earned during the game, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
You got to look at it. So don't think that they just outright scored 28 points with their offense. Their offense was kept in check.
Yeah.
It was their defense that had been their Achilles heel all year long and giving up points. They gave up the 34 points to New England. And so you have to look at which offense outplayed the other.
Yeah.
New England's offense had double the production of Atlanta's offense. Even though Atlanta had 28 points, New England's offense had double the production, Jonathan. So it was really a dominant offensive game by the Patriots in this game, Jonathan.
Yeah, and when you think about that, Big C, I want to say this segment is sponsored by the California Lottery. What can a buck do for you? And it's an alternative fact, Big C, but we did win the Big C Lottery. You notice California starts with a C, like Big C Sports. Well, we also won the Big C Lottery. Big C, coming up, your thoughts on that? It's over $200 million, Big C.
We can credit to Smith.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For now, and that's what we get out there. And I mean, even in listening to all the explanations about the game, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You know, and I've heard so many from so many different directions of other people in this industry explaining why things occurred. It's not that difficult. It's very simplistic, like we have explained.
Yeah.
You know, don't sit there and blame Kyle Shanahan to cover up for the quarterback. If you're an intelligent broadcaster, you know that quarterback was audible.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, you have the opportunity to check out of any situation you feel uncomfortable with. They've given Matt Ryan that free reign. You know, he's the NFL MVP, so he has autonomy when he's running the offense out on the field. Now, Matt Ryan, you know, allegedly he's a talented man. I don't know if that's an alternative fact or not,
Yeah.
you know, but allegedly.
Yeah.
So if I start off the game and my running back turns out 24, 29 yards.
First play. First play.
Do I go away from him?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I guessed wrong. I said, yeah. I was thinking like Matt Ryan. Yeah. He averaged 24 yards. Go away from him, Big C.
Well, I'm at cerebral, you know, marquee quarterbacks that, you know, Mel Kiper and Ty McShay are the face of the NFL.
Yeah.
But I make mistakes because I'm mentally vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not cerebral enough to understand the effectiveness part of the offense. Don't go away with it. Stick with it.
Well, you know.
My ego has it to the point, and I'll tell everybody this, Charlton, this is my firm belief.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan had just been named the NFL MVP the night before.
Yeah.
He wanted to supplant that by being named the Super Bowl MVP. He knew if these other guys that scored the touchdown,
Yeah.
he may have not got that. So he wanted to guarantee his legacy by throwing another touchdown pass to cement him as being the Super Bowl MVP. Like I said, their offense had only scored twice, Charlton. Yeah, only one touchdown. He was truly accountable for getting down.
Yeah.
So he needed to have that other touchdown pass to get him into that MVP bracket, and it cost his organization, Charlton.
Well, Big C, that's a very good point to bring up. And even just looking at his performance in the game, and I know a lot of people down south, you know, they were as shocked that they lost the lead of 28 to 3 as anybody else. But you look at his passing, and he was 17 of 23, no interceptions, 284 yards, which is not bad. But you look at Brady, who was 43 of 62, one interception, 466 yards. The difference between Brady and Ryan is Brady kept doing what worked. You know, when they needed a yard, Brady found a way to call an audible into the right play, and then Ryan did not. And obviously, this reminds me of last year's NBA championship game where Steph Curry was the first time unanimous MVP of the NBA, the only time it's ever happened. And then going against LeBron James, they were also up through 3 games to 1. Just like if you look at New England, they were down through 3 quarters, 28 to 3, and they came back, Big C. But there's something about the guy that was not the MVP shining in the championship game, and maybe that just happens in sports. But something I want to just point out, Atlanta only had 17 first downs. New England had 37. So how does the number 1 scoring offense in the league only manage 17 first down? That's just over 4, per quarter, Big C. And New England had 37, and they played on the same field, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's what we talked about defensive dominance, Johnson. No one gave defense any thought going into the Super Bowl because Atlanta was so high-powered of an offense.
Yeah.
Regardless, and everybody got a little off kilter because they watched the Green Bay game 2 weeks ago, Johnson.
Yeah.
Thinking that was a sign of the times. But Green Bay went into that game, Johnson, without 7 started the season.
Yeah.
So they basically went in there with 4 people who started the regular season for Green Bay on defense by the time that game was over. So they were a team playing undermanned throughout that entire game. And when you think about it, Atlanta didn't dominate that game as much as people would have thought they would.
Yeah.
Having Green Bay being outmanned the way they were. You know, there was a couple of turnovers on Green Bay's behalf that allowed Atlanta to have that separation. But as far as dominating, you know, New England was ready for that, Charlton. But, you know, to go out and when you get away from the run game that's been so dominant for you all year long in a championship game, we've seen that over the history of Super Bowls, Charlton. Teams that cannot run the ball lose football games. I'll go back to a game with the Washington Redskins and Oakland Raiders around 83.
Yeah.
When, you know, when Washington had been a dominant running team all year long, Joe Theismann was the quarterback.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Joe got out of his element wanting to get into this tossing contest with the Raiders.
Yeah, Jim Plunkett.
And gave Marcus Allen too many opportunities to carry the ball, and at that time, Marcus set a Super Bowl record for rushing yards in a game.
Yeah.
And so these are the things that you can't get away from if what got you there, Charlton. And when I think about Freeman and Coleman, how dominant they were in the first half as a tandem.
Yeah.
They touched the ball 18 times, Charlton. Atlanta had a solid lead. They touched the ball 4 times in the second half, and that lead dissipated. There's something in correlation there that, you know, one faulted the other, Charlton.
Well, you know, you just brought up something, too, about how good, you know, Belichick is at calling plays and making sure his coaches know what he's doing. You know who he's made look bad, who also has a Super Bowl championship, is Coach Bill Parcells, because Belichick was the D coordinator on the defense when the Giants won their Super Bowl games with Parcells. He had Belichick, you know, handling that defense. And so if Parcells, think about this, Big C, if Belichick was not on that Giants staff, the Giants would not have beaten San Francisco at Candlestick Park, even though Roger Craig fumbled, and they would not have beaten Buffalo in the Super Bowl in their second win that they had under Parcells, Big C. That's how good Belichick is. He can make Bill Parcells, who's a Hall of Famer, look irrelevant. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, you know, he was the key to that defense, Charlton. When you think about how dominant that Giants defense was, and there's a lot of nuances of the New England defense that you saw in the Giants defense as far as the rotation of movement of players, to have players playing in different positions that were interchangeable. When you think of that linebacking core he had, he ran that 3-4 defense in New York with the Giants, and he also runs a 3-4 and a 2-5 in New England.
Yeah.
So you don't know where players are coming from all the time, Charlton. But, you know, to have that imagination defensively, that you're not a cookie-cutter coach, you're not a cookie-cutter defense, you find the moving parts that work in your system.
Yeah.
That's what Bill Belichick has done. He did it with the Giants. When you look at that defense, he had drafted players as well as free agents that he brought into that organization that can play football, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they play his scheme. And when you look at New England, he keeps players around long enough to win. That's all it is. It's not about longevity in New England.
Yeah.
It keeps you there for a time to win. Once you won, it's time to move on from the majority of the players on that roster. And you go back to his first Super Bowl. The only player that's left is Tom Brady, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's it. Tom Brady. And he has nobody on the roster, you know, that's been around more than 2 Super Bowls other than Tom Brady with 2 Super Bowl wins. You know, everybody else he has brought into that organization. When you think about it, the second longest tenured guy on his roster, Charlton, is his left offensive tackle.
Yeah.
Schroeder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his second longest tenured guy, and he was the number 1 draft pick 7-8 years ago out of University of Colorado.
Wow.
So, but he drafted him to protect Brady's blind side. Everybody else is gone, Charlton. And then the third longest serving guy on the roster is Ruff. So when you think about people wanting to be there on that offense, he has 3 guys that have been on that offense more than 5 years. Everybody else has been rotated in and out, Charlton. But you keep people fresh, you keep people alert, and there's no complacency. And you can't have complacency if you want to win, Charlton.
Yeah.
You have to be hungry all the time. And that's what Belichick is taught.
Well, Big C.
The rest of the NFL, when you look around the NFL, Charlton, and you look at the cast-offs
Yeah.
on his roster from around the NFL, they couldn't be productive in another system, but they're world champions in his system.
Well, think about this, Big C. He was the same D coordinator that had, I think, the greatest defensive player in the NFL in history. I mean, arguably, everybody can argue but LT was on that same team with Harry Carson and Ernie Banks. And could you imagine? Was it who else was it? Carl Banks. You're right, Carl Banks. So imagine Belichick having that guy, LT alone. Yeah. So could you imagine the talent that he's had? And you're talking about Hall of Famers. Well, they were under his tutelage. They were not under the tutelage of Bill Parcells. We saw how successful Parcells was when Belichick was not a D coordinator. So imagine the Hall of Famers, not just the coaches that have been under the tutelage of Coach Belichick, the Hall of Famers that learned from him. You know, you talk about LT, one of the greatest defensive guys ever, and then Brady, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. They both have one man to tutelage those guys, to mentor those guys. That's what his mind has done. He's not about what I can do for me. Everyone that falls under his system, they are closer and closer to a golden jacket, Big C. Does that make any sense, or is it just on the players, Big C?
Well, you know, you think about it, and you talk about that Giants team. That Giants team used two different quarterbacks to win Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You Sims, who set a Super Bowl percentage rate passing the football when they beat up on the Bills. And, you know, then on the Broncos, but then they come back with the Hospital, who beat up on the Bills. So it wasn't about who was pulling the trigger quarterback. It was a defense that could control the flow of everything, John.
Yeah.
They had a cast-off running back, just like, you know, Belichick has with New England. He's using these running backs, and nobody wants. They had O.J. Anderson, who went out there and just dominated the game on the ground a couple different occasions for the Giants.
Yeah.
But when you look at what you do in New England, and this is what losing organizations don't understand.
Yeah.
When I look at teams and they go out and they draft these players high in the draft, they spend all this money on
Rams and Eagles.
And second round drafting that are non-productive, John. And when you look at New England's offense, and as I told you before, they got one guy on their offense that was first round draft pick. One. You think about this. You're the Super Bowl champion, and you have one player on your offense that was a first round draft pick. That's the left offensive tackle. That's it. Even Gronkowski was a second round draft pick. Brady is a sixth round draft pick.
So hold on, Big C. Hold on a second. You saying that Todd McShay and who's that guy with the hair again?
What's his name?
Kuiper.
Kuiper.
So they said the monkey guessed right 80% of the time, and Kuiper was 22% of the time. Is that what they said? Can you tell that story one more time?
You know, the monkey did 85% correct on the first round.
Yeah.
Mel Kiper sit down at 22%.
Yeah.
$1 by year, seeing to be wrong.
That.
To bananas. Bananas until Machete was overpaid. But when you think about how this team built, the three of their offensive linemen are free agents. Okay?
Yeah.
You got three offensive linemen free agents.
Yeah.
You got three running backs that are free agents. Okay.
Yeah.
Three that played in this game. Three free agents. Nobody knew where they came from. Matter of fact, White, the kid who scored the winning touchdown in the game.
Yeah.
St. Thomas Aquinas out of Florida. He and Giovanni Bernard, the running back with the Cincinnati Bengals, were in the same backfield together in high school. That's how talented a team he played on in high school.
That school down in Florida, Big C. I think Michael Irvin went there. The brother that played at Ohio State, a great receiver, Chris Carter. His son goes there. I think Dan Marino went there, but I'm not sure, Big C. But a lot of out of Pittsburgh. Okay.
But when you look at this team, you know, Hogan, a cast-off. You know, Edelman, a free agent quarterback out of college, out of Toledo.
Yeah.
You know, Amendola, a cast-off from the Rams, Charlton. You know, but when you look at that offense, how it's built, and you sit out there, so that's why you have no egos.
Yeah.
Versus you look at these teams who draft these receivers in the first round,
yeah,
holding out a training camp,
yeah,
wanting more money, always hurt coming out of the locker room, don't
yeah,
get on the field. And you know, you look at Hogan, when you talk about what Julio Jones did against
Green Bay, yeah,
in the NFC Championship game, 180 yards of receptions. Hogan did the same thing on the other side of the field for New England and did it for about the tenth of the cost.
Yeah, yeah.
So where's the return on investment? If you can get Hogan to play equal to Julio Jones for a tenth of the cost, what happens to your team, John? There's more money to spread around, and you get better as an organization, and you walk around with the NFL championship ring on and the trophy sitting in the trophy case at your facility. facility.
Well, let me.
And Matt Ryan, Charlton, makes $10 million more a year than Tom Brady.
What?
$10 million more a year than what Tom Brady. That's what Matt Ryan makes. Okay.
The same Matt Ryan that got sacked and also instead of audible to a run play, wanted to throw a 30-yard pass. That guy?
No, he audible out of a run play, Charlton, and keeping the play intact that the coach called. But that's the value. You make $10 million more a year than the Super Bowl winning quarterback who had 5 of them now.
Yeah.
5 of them. And you make $10 million less than the NFL MVP, and you also have 3 of those. So it's no day in the park. And you got 3 now Super Bowl MVPs, if not 4?
Yeah.
4 Super Bowl MVPs?
So
what's the value of a quarterback? The guy that will take less for his team to be better, or is it the guy that's greedy, Charlton, that say, I want it all, and I don't care about whether we win or lose?
Well, let's leave Andrew Luck out of that for right now, Big C, okay? leave Andrew Luck alone, at least for one season, Big C. The playoffs have left him alone. Can't you just leave him alone, Big C?
Think about it. You bring Andrew Luck into this equation. What do we have 3 years ago? Spygate? I mean, not Spygate.
Deflategate, yeah.
Okay? Well, look at those 2 organizations. Okay, Tom Brady is taking a pay cut since Deflategate, okay?
Yeah.
So does the Patriots to sign players.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck is taking an inflation of, no pun intended on football, inflation.
Yeah.
And been less productive.
Yeah.
His team has not made the playoffs in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Although he's making more money, the highest paid player in the NFL history, he's making more money, but his team is not any better. And they're talking about, well, we need to draft more players. Who's out there making no money?
Yeah.
There's no money left to pay anybody.
So
nobody comes here as a free agent.
So are you really saying that Bill Belichick and the good old boy, Kraft, they don't call McShay and Kuiper when it's coming to NFL draft? They don't call those 2 guys that ESPN puts on TV for 3 days in a row. You're saying that Belichick doesn't call those guys to ask who they should draft Big C at New England?
You think about it. When it gets around to New England pick, Jonathan, they just abstain.
Yeah.
Because they can't sit there and predict who New England's going to pick. They can't say they have a need here and here. Because what does New England have a need?
Yeah.
New England will need as many free agents as they do draft picks when you realistically look at it. And they stockpile draft picks and start trading them all the time. New England has double-digit draft picks going into the draft. They got 7 rounds. They have double-digit draft picks just like the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, I believe, Jonathan, has 14 draft picks in 7 rounds. 14. Matter of fact, in the first 3 rounds of the draft, Jonathan, they have 7 draft picks in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
So when you talk about an organization getting the most out of the draft, it's not Cleveland. If you look at them, Jonathan, they drafted 4 wide receivers last year in the draft.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns drafted 4 wide receivers. The New England Patriots drafted none.
Yeah.
The highest draft pick they have as wide receivers, Malcolm Mitchell, number 19 out of Georgia 2 years ago. He was a 4th round draft pick.
Yeah.
That's the highest round draft pick and wide receiver they have on the team, a 4th round draft pick. And New England has all these players, I mean not New England, but Cleveland, all these running receivers that they spent these first rounds on and have no quarterback to throw to them, and none of them can catch. As a matter of fact, their top receiver in Cleveland is a converted quarterback, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Terrell Pryor, who played quarterback at Ohio State. They got all these first-round draft picks. They play receiver on the team, 3 of them, and yet he was the only one that's all pro, and he's a converted quarterback like Elderman.
That's incredible, Big C. I want to say this segment is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to life insurance. And also, I want to tell you that we work with all of the companies that offer insurance under the AFL-CIO, and we're also endorsed by the American Heart Association and the American Cancer Society at United Labor, and we're looking to hire over 1,000 insurance brokers. So tweet out to Big C Sports at Yes Charlton on Twitter, and also by One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense, and we will pay your E&O insurance up to $1 million per agent. Now, who does that? Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. If you're looking for work and you're an insurance broker in all 50 states, tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports at Yes Charlton on Twitter. So Big C, when you talk about some of the staples that makes this program so great with the New England Patriots, they were not always a great organization but there's something about dancing with the guy who has it. When we think about some of the great organizations in football, it used to be kind of a log jam. You had the Pittsburgh Steelers, you had the San Francisco 49ers, you had, if you want to say, the Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins, and teams that have had multiple championships. The Denver Broncos, they were up there. And even though people throw in the Green Bay Packers, they haven't won a championship in a long time. There's always that top 4 or 5 teams. But New England, they have really ascended past that. They're like the NBA's version of Golden State and also Cleveland. But I will even say that's not even accurate. They're more like the NBA version of the Boston Celtics under Red Auerbach. Big C, your thoughts on that?
They truly are, Charles. When you think about a dominant organization, you know, and I'll take it even more, Richard, they're like the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
You know, when they were there under Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson, when you think about how Michael willed that team to win.
Yeah.
Tom Brady does the same thing.
So wait a minute. Are you saying that Brady's going to retire and play baseball for the Red Sox for one season?
I don't know. He might be
Okay. Okay.
But, you know, when you look at what they do on a consistent basis, Charlton, is that they have that will to win. You have that one dynamic player that makes a difference. Everybody believes in it. When he's on the field, everyone has a standard to play up to at that point.
Yeah.
You know, you might be having a bad day at home or whatever, but when you get to work and you see Tom walk out there, you know, on the field, you know, you have to play at his level.
Yeah.
That's the difference, Charlton. When we talk about the dominant players in any era, in any game.
Yeah.
When you look at Barry Bonds, when he played baseball with the Giants, teammates knew they weren't Barry, but they tried to play on the Barry standard, Charlton, to be able to make contact with the ball, to hit the ball. When you look at basketball, when you look at the greats over time, you look at, you know, Michael Jordan,
yeah.
You look at Magic Johnson, you look at a Larry Bird, you look at dominant players of the era, Charlton, and these players went out there and teammates knew that they had to try to play up to their level, even recently with the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
Night after night, even though they were led by Steph Curry, they could be led by anybody on that team. But they all played up to Steph's level. Let's get our points. Let's run. But that's the mindset. And when you look around the team, you feel like your buddies down there in Sacramento.
Yeah.
You know, with the descent that they had on that organization, Charlton, that, you know, you got the best player on the team, who's also the worst player on the team.
Yeah.
He's the cancer, you know, getting kicked out, going to be suspended now.
Yeah.
And so that's why that organization goes nowhere. And when you look around the NBA, the once great Lakers, Charlton, once you lose leadership, you're no longer a challenge to the rest of the league. You got teams that are, you know, waddling in their abyss, Charlton, because they can't get their footing.
Yeah.
And in football, when we look at those teams with those high draft picks every year, why do they have high draft picks every year? Why do they waste their money on these so-called franchise-changing players? And after 5 years, if you're still picking in the top 10, trade them away, Charlton. Trade away those guys. Don't take those draft picks anymore. Because you've proved as an organization that you don't know what the hell you're doing, that you're inept mentally as far as talent selection.
Well, I think a lot of times.
Perfect example, Charlton, for the past 5 years. Picked in the top 5. And they haven't won 5 games in any one of those years, Charlton.
Yeah, and that's a lot. That's why when you look at even the NFL draft, and I love football. I'm kind of addicted to it. It's like that good girlfriend you had back in the day, and she fires you for a guy that, you know, is better looking or bigger, stronger, faster, or whatever. But you still love her, so you're waiting that every time she calls you, you know, you're going to answer it. So no matter what the league does, I'm probably going to watch it. I love it. But you brought back some a kind of a painful memory, Big C. You talked about Barry Bonds and being that dominant player. I remember back in the day when I got started with Sports Talk USA, and Dusty Baker was managing the Giants, and Barry Bonds was hitting home runs like handshakes, Big C. I remember being in the locker room, and I saw Dusty Baker. He was actually in his underwear. I didn't want to see that, but he closed the door too late, Big C. So I realized he's not as in shape as Barry Bonds, because Barry Bonds came walking down the aisle. He had his own locker room and everything else, private door, and some big guys that hung around him. And he was walking one way, and I didn't get out the way, just like a lot of people say, go around me. And Barry Bonds said, move. So it was him and his homeboys. I was going to stand my ground, Big C, but he said move, and it sounded like 5 guys were saying it. So I got out of the way. But yeah, he was hit. I didn't want him to hit me out of the ballpark the way he was hitting fastballs, Big C. Did I make the right choice, Big C? Yeah.
He wasn't injecting his eyes, so he was able to see.
Yeah.
That's why people after the Super Bowl were saying New England cheated, that White was down, his knee was down. No, the ball was across the goal line.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that every camera and every official got that wrong? No. But sore losers will do that.
Yeah.
If you hate New England, stop New England from winning.
Well,
you go out there and you got your jock on straight, just like they do.
Yeah.
And you play man it up. And evidently they have better men than what you have.
Yeah.
If you can't beat them, they have better men than what you have. But you know, New England Charlton was on a personal mission this year against the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. This was personal between the New England Patriots and Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
Roger Goodell was the fuel for New England last year.
Yeah.
That's what he was. Every week that they went out, and I can guarantee you they had a bullseye with Roger Goodell's face on it on their locker room.
Yeah.
When they were walking out of it every game.
Well, Big C, ironically, Boston's having they had their parade today. Now his jersey came up missing. Now I want to just bring up some theory. You know, I'm kind of one of those conspiracy theories. Who out of everybody in the world would be so mad at Tom Brady that he would steal his jersey? Would his name be initials RG? Would Roger Goodell take Brady's jersey? Has anybody looked at that, Big C? Yeah. I think Roger Goodell took that jersey, but you see, there's no one that has the balls that would steal that jersey outside of maybe Roger Goodell. What do you think, Big Z? Would that be a theory?
That's a serious thing, theory, Jonathan, because who can hang it on that wall there? Hey, I got Brady's jersey.
Yeah.
So, Roger may come up and try to hide that from the Hall of Fame years down the road, because that's where he was dedicated to go with the Canton.
Oh, yeah.
It was going right to Canton, right off the back, 5-time Super Bowl winner.
Yeah.
And they placed the value in excess of $500,000 for, clips and 5 victories. But, it's always the mysteries of sports, Jonathan. It's the mystery of how things happen.
Yeah.
In a locker room with that many people around, it's hard to say who picked it up. Anybody could have walked away. And my theory, it was somebody from the media, Jonathan.
Yeah.
That boosted that.
Now wait a minute. Now you sound like Donald Trump, Big C. Don't blame the media for doing it. It's not the media.
I did not tell you what it was.
Okay, I don't want you to be influenced by Kellyanne Conway, okay, Z?
That individual was a cameraman,
okay.
It wasn't a guy on the mic. It was a cameraman who has the case.
Yeah.
You can slide that inside of his case.
Yeah. That's funny, Big C.
He couldn't look away, but the guy with the case who has the camera bag can slide that in his battery pack or whatever. That's where the jersey was. They're in all the wrong places. They're going to have to go and see some people who were waiting in the prison into the locker room. It was a great Super Bowl. Charlton, it's going to go down in the top 5 Super Bowls of all time. It's the greatest finish of all time.
Yeah.
But the way it ended up, but there was some pretty miraculous Super Bowls. You always got to look back at the Cowboys, Steelers, in those classic battles that they had company, even the Giants and the Beatles.
Yeah.
Coming down to the missed field goal.
No.
That's the games, the Rams and the Patriots.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the Giants and the Patriots, Charlton, when you think about it, of the last 4 Super Bowl victories, or the last 4 participation Super Bowls that the Patriots have been in.
Yeah.
Look at how they've all ended. Last team with the ball, Charlton.
Yeah.
All of it is the last team with the ball. That's how epic the 4 Super Bowls, the last 4 that the Patriots been in, 2 wins, 2 losses. The one with the Giants was the last team with the ball, basically. And the last 2 that the Patriots won. They were the last team with the ball.
Yeah, that's always true. I also want to say this segment is brought to you by Athletic Insurance, Athletic and Event Insurance on Big C Sports. Tweet out to us on the iHeartRadio network. Also follow us at Yes Charlton on Twitter. We can insure professional teams, college teams, and also high school teams, as well as the mom and pop soccer leagues. Also, for all of you trying to get started in business, you want to use Dun & Bradstreet, you want to get business credit, tweet out to us at Big C Sports. and Charlton and Big C Sports at Yes Charlton on Twitter, and we'll help you get started with that as well. I do want to just say a few things about some of the things that are going on in the world of basketball tonight. You have the Charlotte, their favorite over Brooklyn. You have Houston, their favorite over Orlando, and you have Dallas being favorite over Portland. I want to take a little bit of time before I say happy birthday to Garth Brooks and Chris Rock and Ashton Kutcher. I want to say the college top 25 men's teams. Number 1, bringing it to the West Coast, up in the Northwest, Gonzaga, followed by number 2, Villanova, last year's national champion. Number 3, Kansas. Number 4, Louisville. And number 5, Oregon, as well as number 6, Baylor, followed by Wisconsin at number 7, North Carolina at number 8, Arizona at number 9, and UCLA at number 10. When we go across the aisle and we look at the women's top 25, number 1, UConn. Man, they're just incredible. I don't know if they're ever going to lose a game again. Number 2, Baylor, followed by number 3, Maryland. Number 4, Mississippi State. Number 5, Florida State. And number 6 is South Carolina, followed by number 7, the great Notre Dame with touchdown Jesus. And they're followed by Stanford University on the West Coast, Oregon State, and the University of Washington, Big C. So as we close out today's program, I just want to mention, we talked about some birthdays of some of the great actors in Hollywood and entertainers. In the final few minutes, the great Chris Rock, he turned 52 years old today, so congratulations, Chris Rock. Garth Brooks is 55, and Ashton Kutcher is 39. As we take this last 2 minutes just to pay tribute to some of the great actors and entertainers, your thoughts on wishing these great actors a happy birthday. Chris Rock, Ashton Kutcher, and the great Garth Brooks, Big C. Your thoughts in the last 2 minutes.
When you mention those 3 gentlemen, they've all been trailblazers in the industry that they're in. You think about Garth Brooks, who controlled the country music industry for just about a decade, and everything that he touched was golden. Some synonymous songs in American folklore. You think about Ashton Kutcher, the young man of the bunch. When he started out on the TV show,
yeah.
He started out on, and how he has grown up to become a real prominent actor in Hollywood. But I like Chris Rock, who's been an actor. He's been an advocate, Charlton. He's been a spokesperson.
Yeah.
He's crossed a broad range and spectrum of the entertainment field. He's been a leader, but his key to life is being outspoken.
Oh yeah.
He's been a guy that is shot from the cuff, Charlton. He's been real. He talks about real life scenarios in everything that he touches. And to all 3 of those 3 great Americans, Charlton, who've been trailblazers in the industries, happy birthday to you. And keep it going strong, being honest about the work that you do. Don't be cookie cutters.
Yeah.
Don't sit on the fence, don't straddle. Be what you have stood for always. Be out there and be the true American icon that represents your country well.
Well, Big C, no one says it better than you. I want to tell everybody, we thank you for following Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. We also say there's never any room for domestic violence. If you know any woman in trouble or any man grabbing her by the crotch, just call 911 because that is not acceptable. We always want to tell you, no matter what you're doing in life, just keep pushing. Just keep trying. Just keep making it happen. And someday you'll get there too. And as we always tell you, for listeners, we thank you very much. We appreciate you. And we hope that you have a super fantastic day.